Hi, Miss Tillman. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. You're low on mine. And I'm getting some feedback.
Oh, okay.
Can you turn down your speaker or turn down your speaker and turn off your phone or your phone?
My computer is off, and if I turn my phone off, I won't see you because I'm using my phone.
Okay. For some reason, I'm getting feedback really bad.
I don't have anything else on.
Okay. Well, we're going to get started. We're going to see what is on my side, the technical side of it.
Okay, let me see.
Are you there?
I'm here. I was just unplugging it to see if that made it better. I had it plugged in, but it's 100%, so I want to make sure it didn't go off.
Thank you so very much. I'm getting feedback. Are you getting feedback on your side?
No.
Okay. So it's on my side. I don't know. Again, some of those tools that I'm going to fix. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. And viewers, my apologies again. I try to make sure it's not over. The devil is alive. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mama Lynne Tillman from New Mexico. I am very grateful for you taking the time with us today to also be a part of something historical. You were selected because you served our country, and I want to be your virtual rose salute that she wrote. She wrote is also another area of service. In agriculture, you definitely have to be a servant, be minded. There's no individualism in this type of industry. So without further ado, I want to introduce yourself. Give us your background, what you've done, what part of the armed services of the United States you're with. I want to make sure that the people know and we can help in your area. It's all yours.
All right. In community, I'm known as Mama Lynne. That is something that in a community I lived in Nashville. The adult women are called mama or auntie. And when a young lady called me Mama Lynne, I thought I was too young for that, but Spirit told me that's what I'll go by from that forth. And my blessings flow through that. So it is not about being somebody's personal mother. It's about being a mother in the community. So you're looking out for things. You're looking for people. That doesn't mean I take on everybody and hold their hand and make them my personal child. It's I can't even really explain it, but it's wherever I go, I'm on the outlook for doing that. I do want to say when I start that I tend to ramble because everything is circular and interconnected to me. So my past, my present, my military and all of that, I may run back and forth through it because it's interconnected to me. I started out at Lincoln University. I went to, I was in Army ROTC for 3 years, took my officer's training and basic training, Fort Riley, Kansas, officer training, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. But because I was highly allergic to poison ivy at Fort Riley and the mismanagement of my situation, and I swole up and I swole up all over finally one night, and they rushed me to the hospital, and my commander, I guess base commander, anyway, set them straight and whatever. But in that, the reason why I swole up is that when I was in the gas chamber, you're supposed to just go in, tell your name, your social security number, and something else. They kept me in there a very elongated time. And so the poison ivy that I had all over my body from having us lay in poison ivy for hours had turned into a massive something, and I was highly allergic to it. So come close to death. Fast forwarding, I quit college. I quit everything once I got back because I couldn't take my commission because it was going to be sending me to an area that was always in the field. So I quit college, and then fast forward years later, um, I took the uh, test, service test, and I wanted to do something creative, and I scored very high. Not necessarily because I knew all the information on there. In areas that I didn't know, I just want A, D, J, and whatever it was. But I scored high in mechanics. I scored high in electronics and something else that I didn't have nothing to do with. So I couldn't go into the branch I wanted to, which was Air Force, because they wouldn't let me do anything other than those. So I went to Navy. They let me be a cook. So in the Navy, I didn't realize racial and sexual uh, things that go on in the military. Let's say I became very aware of them. Um, uh, Unfortunately, and I didn't know how I was going to respond to this, because I've not talked about this until, say, 4 years ago, when I had, in all my life, I haven't talked about it, till 4 years ago when a social worker in Des Moines identified the stress and things that I was going through. And when I talked about my past, that I had PSTD and didn't know where it came from. And I didn't tell anybody. So if I'm struggling with this, it is because it is the first time airing it publicly, but I think it's important, and Spirit wants me to do it to a certain degree, because so many women I have met since then who are veterans, who have gone through so much, way more than I have, but mine's was enough that once they read my records, X amount of how many years later, uh, I immediately got a good percentage of my disability, and then recently filed and got the 100%. So while in the military, dealing with racism and sexism, and trying to figure out how to, because you're young, I definitely didn't want to go to the brig. I didn't want to get locked up. So, you're trying to stay out of harm's way, but it's very difficult because it is somewhat ingrained in there. So you're mandatory to go to what they call gatherings that are for morale building, which water back then, they didn't have bottled water. Okay. So everything was either alcohol, or maybe they had a soda mixed with alcohol, and I don't drink. So that meant I drank nothing, but that meant that I had to deal with people that made excuses for whatever they were doing because they was drinking. And so that's how that went. And I ended up, having a miscarriage because my commanding officer put me in a warehouse. He had a vendetta against me because I wouldn't be a part of the boat regalia, which meant rolling boats. I was always a very athletically built person, and he wanted to see how fast I could run, how much I could lift, and I really wasn't a competitive person on that level. I was a bodybuilder, and I competed on Travis Air Force Base, which was far from where I was because I was in the Navy at Mare Island. So I ended up having some challenges, miscarriage, and whatever. So I did get out based off of another pregnancy so that I could escape there, because he was sending me on the Point Loma, which had a very bad reputation. And anyway, so I was able to, after attempting suicide and him coming directly to the hospital, telling me some other potential things that could take place in my world, which thankfully is in my records, and the reason why I get a check, along with some other things. So it was a difficult time, but there also was some good. I met a lot of good people in there. I also watched a lot of my brothers go through so much. I lived right outside the base, so I was kind of a refuge place for some coming back. I cooked every other weekend because I was a cook in the military, and so what we cooked in the military wasn't what we were used to in our community necessarily. And so I became sort of like a big sister to a lot of folks. I was very spiritual then, more like religious than that. So having a bunch of boyfriends wasn't really what I was about. Um, so it was an interesting time. I'm seeing I'm struggling with what I thought I wouldn't have. I didn't know how it was going to flow out. So that is the base of my military. And after I got out of the Navy, I stayed out of the military. Maybe I don't remember how long, but my daughter was still a baby. And I got into the Air Force Reserve. I had a similar incident in the Air Force Reserve. Fortunately, we were at a training at a bare base, which means that there's no people there. You go there just to do a training. It was on an Army base that we went to. And fortunately, the women that I was with, we decided to save money so we could save our I forget what they give you, whatever it is that they give you to pay for your hotel, this, that, and the other. Anyway, we decided to stay in one room. And that was a blessing because the sergeant over us had evidently been telling folks that me and him had something going on, or he was doing something. And at this base, he spreaded that. And fortunately, there was a master sergeant there that he made the mistake of telling it to. And the master sergeant pulled me to the side and asked me. And I was like, no. And because I stayed in the room with these other women, they were able to verify, no, she wasn't there. No. And so, but, he got reprimanded, and he would, like they do, he went to some kind of leadership something or other and came back with a new stripe. I, on the other hand, continued to get basically harassed. It was not good. So eventually I was able to get out of the Air Force Reserve because I was also going to college at the same time. So I have friends who have had good experience. My best friend from high school, we did the ROTC in college and stuff together. And, that was a good experience. I learned a lot through that. And she went on to take her officer's commission and everything and did her for a good time. I don't remember how many years she did, and went on to work for the government. But I also know I have another friend. She may be watching. She's moved out here to New Mexico as well recently. And she also had, some tremendous times as a Black woman in their period of not having a grand old time. But Black women, yeah. So that's the base of the military.
Wow. I'm trying to unpack all of it. I hear you when you say being a Black woman in the military. That's the reason we wanted to have this conference. Because not only we're all veterans, but there's an emphasis in in America with leadership you try to do. It's so many barriers that are unnecessary. Or they find a way to debate us against each other to not have an overall goal. So I am wholeheartedly I give you your role time to tell your story, because that encourages more young women are that there are outlets for help. That's outlets for help. We want to that opportunity to tell you what and that's what this is for. I understand a veteran from ROTC started, correct? You went to college. And I understand you started to actually being able be a mechanic however, you went from there reserve. You did what you did in there, you didn't stop. And now you are coaching. still trying to help people. So, Mama Tillman, I want us to talk about your expertise as a veteran.
Okay. Well, my agriculture, growing food comes from life, comes from my childhood. I grew up in Kansas City, and in our community and neighborhood, everybody, most of you had, because I'm 64. So people lived in community. They had gardens in their backyard. We had all kind of berry bushes and peach trees and orange trees, and I'm not orange trees, apple trees and stuff up and down the alley in different people's yards, and, on parts of the alley where there was nobody's yards. And so, of course, I had one. My auntie, who lived at the other end of the block, she is really where I get so much from. My mother as well, because my mother had a garden. She turned the front porch into a beauty salon. She sewed and everything. But my auntie, she could make a leather coat that Saks Fifth Avenue wanted. She could upholster chairs that, anybody's shop could have in it. She canned food. She cooked anything that moved. She caught a turtle, a possum, or whatever. It tastes good until you saw what it was. You might be like, no, but you can't tell her that. You better eat it. And she raised worms up under her bed. And she had a huge garden out back. And so she is part of the name of my growing and my farm and everything. AETAMTILL. A is for Alpha, the brightest star in your constellation. Etai is Ethel Tate, that's my mama. MTill is Mary Tillman, my auntie. They're the brightest stars in my constellation. So when I came across, I went back to school at 50, came across, the term of sustainable living, and I went to a intentional community, and I was just amazed at a different way of living and different focuses of living. And I was like, okay, God, I see you got other realities. I want into another one. So I started studying and reading, Good Mother Earth magazines and different things. And I tried to go to workshops and things, but they cost so much. And 99% of the time, they were all white. Sometimes they were okay with you being there. Sometimes they weren't. But that didn't really stop me. So I had an opportunity to move to the intentional community for a short period of time. And I got introduced to permaculture and unschooling and midwifery and canning and making soy ice cream and just all kind of things. And I've always had a kind of a building background, and I've been a stagehand, and I became or as I was told, the first Black female rigger in the state of Georgia, which meant I drove a boom lift 30 however many feet in the air and hung chain motors and different stuff. I just wanted to get paid more and get away from the madness down at the Congress Center on the floor. So all this ties into the agriculture, because all these different skills, as you're moving along, these skills play into. So fast forwarding, I went back to since I couldn't afford the different workshops and trainings, Spirit God took me to a college that had a sustainable living degree program, which meant I could take these and go back to school and use the grants and loan funding. And so that's what I did. And that was in Iowa. That was in Fairfield, Iowa. And but at the same time, I was not able to actually do the things that I was learning. I also got an opportunity to go up to Will Allen in Wisconsin and take training in Hoop House building. And boy, he had the most fantastic aquaponic system set up and worm composting. And I mean, you just have to watch. There's videos on Will Allen and growing power. And so that really set into me even more wanting to do. But again, I didn't own any land. And where I was renting at, when I tried to have a garden, I also was working as a stagehand, and the truss fell on my foot and broke my toe. So I couldn't work my garden. moved up to Des Moines, Iowa through the AmeriCorps program. And I bring that up because I was with AmeriCorps program with State Representative Wayne Ford. And then I did some volunteer and wrote a program for State Representative Akale. And I did a program over there, community gardens. That time I got a chance to share with people, set up a water catchment system and various different things. And then I met another sister friend there who's the social worker who identified my PSDD. She had a farm and I got a chance to help her start and establish some things on there. So I got a chance to do some hands-on, but again, I didn't, own it and, struggling trying to get funding. We went to all kind of meetings and different stuff. And she was, she is African American and Latino Mexican. And we just wasn't able to get the funding. We weren't able to get it off the ground. And she got the farm number. She got, we did a rain garden. We did everything. The NRSC came out, whatever. And after we had people come out, mysteriously, her alpacas died shortly after that. She had to give away her pig. She was going to have a healing center. Her husband is a veteran, disabled veteran. And so, it's difficult. It's difficult. I know and have friends who are white who are farming and growing. I had a great family when I was in Iowa, and I used to go over to their farm all the time. That's Sarah and Sean Johnson. And actually got a chance to kill the chickens, chase the chickens, and cook them up and everything. Did canning with them and everything. It's still a struggle. It is not an easy thing. It is not people who are trying to get into farming and agriculture. It's not a walk in the park for nobody. No. But when you add racism on there, sexism into the mix, because a lot of the people that are still into it, are older, and they come through that time when that's a common way to be. We see celebrities that are getting ousted for their sexual harassment and their mannerism and stuff, but it was a common way to be. So it shows up in many places and many times through this. And so it's difficult. So fast forward, I got a blessed opportunity spirit. I had to leave Iowa after having issues in my senior housing with racism and them coming into my apartment, seeing my various different books. I'm an eclectic spiritualist person, so I have everything from the Kabbalah to voodoo to the Quran to most any book, along with all kind of other books from growing food and all kind of stuff. But they seem to focus on my African pictures and whatever. So that became a living hell. And after 3 years of living hell and filing a case with civil and human rights, it pushed me to start having a breakdown, which resembled the breakdown that I had in the military. So I had to start going back to the doctor and to the psychologist and blah, 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 which turned out to be a blessing, because then that pushed the case to the point where I filed for my benefits and they looked into it. And so that got me started on the road. So fast forward, I wanted to leave Iowa. And I started on the road, and a friend of mine says, well, come through New Mexico. She was in Albuquerque, and I did. And another friend said, well, there's an intentional community down there where a friend of ours is that I had talked to on the telephone. So I called him, said, can I come down and check that out? And so that's how I ended up here. So right now I have like a 1/4 acre, a little mobile home that I call We Camp In, because it needs many, many things fixing up. But as through those times of doing various different things, I've met many people on many walks of life. And when you are focused and you're getting back to the land, you make sacrifices. And I want to say one of the many places that I'm blessed to have gathered with is many different Native Americans, because I have Black Native American within me. So in Georgia, I went to lodges and things with Black Native Americans. And then when I moved to Iowa, I went with other Native Americans. And the mannerism and the understanding of our connectedness with the land and with the plants and things. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have territories. That don't mean like, me and snakes, we ain't gonna get along. And I'm gonna be running and they gonna be doing whatever they do because I ain't gonna know because I'm gonna be gone. That is very present in what I'm doing now and what I'm wanting to do. I went to Standing Rock because Spirit sent me. I didn't necessarily want to go, but a woman had bought 2 school buses, and we were at a meeting at her house, and she was saying she needed somebody to drive, and I heard my mouth open up and say, "I'll drive one." I tried my hardest to talk Spirit. I tried to talk Spirit out of that because another young woman had just come back. She was talking about how cold it was and what was going on and how many hundreds of people it was. And it just did not sound like a good place for a Black woman. It just wasn't sounding good. And so during our prayer sessions in the lodge, Spirit would not even let me set up to be objective. So in long story short, I drove one of the buses up there. It was one of the best learning things of how to be humble, how to be, because I just stayed silent the whole time because there was like one other Black person up there. And it was, they were focused. People were kind and whatever, but you could see they were focused and they were challenged because you have hundreds of people here, young white folks and all kind of people with all kind of attitudes doing all kind of things. But your focus is supposed to be going out there fighting for the water. And they had, I don't know how many kitchens open. And they were operating and collectively working together. And a great deal of them was veterans. And baby, let me tell you, them veterans was on it. They was on it. It was organized. They were working together, but they had this peacefulness. And every morning we went to the fire. Every morning I sat with the chiefs at the fire and the elders that didn't go out. And so that is very much of the base which I'm working from to move forward, because as we're going through this change in time right now, those are some of the skills and things that we need to transform into the next phase of humans that we're not being guided to, we're going to be. There's no if and duff about it. Either you're going to die or you're going to become and move forward. You ain't got too many choices. As we look back in history, not too many choices happened back then. I don't see that many happening right now. And so I want to share these things that I have gathered and learnings along the way in my farm. So I'll be growing food and animals and various different things, but I want to have a space where particularly women, not just veterans, because there are warrior women in the everyday community. They keep the community together. They are doing stuff and they are unknown a lot of times. I know 2 I know so many, but I speak of these 2 because they passed. They stepped over in Des Moines, Iowa. And people did not understand how powerful they were. They worked at Urban Dreams, Mr. Ford's organization. But when people came in there, they didn't judge them because they lived a hard life. They were still living a hard life, but they knew where every resource in town was. They know what day to go on, who to talk to, what to do. They would tell them, when bread was coming to be delivered, they looked out for the community. They didn't just, and that's the spirit that we have to move with. And that's the spirit that a great deal of Black women move with. I know Native American sisters and white women also that move that way.
Yes.
But since I am Black and African American, and we have some extra weight on us, for us to move that way continuously, year after year, 100 years after 100 years, that's saying something. And so we have to draw on that. And so that's what I draw on. I draw on the strength of my mother, my auntie, and all these other people along the way. You gather this along the way and you put it into your bag. And this is the bag of things that you offer to people. I don't have money to offer to people. When sometimes I get some money and I'm able to share it with people, but it is this spirit that I get from other sisters and brothers and that I offer back out. So it is about growing the food. It is about the agriculture, because you got to work the land, and out here in the desert, I ain't never dreamt of being in the desert, no less thought I'd like it. I love it. But it is not like growing food in Missouri, Iowa, Georgia, nowhere I've been. It is not.
So
But
exactly
it is.
where are you?
I am in lower New Mexico. I don't say exactly where because I don't think it's a time that we should tell our exact location on the internet.
Okay. I understand. I respect that. Well, what exactly do you need help with as far as resources? Have you worked with the USDA before?
I have tried to work with the USDA. Let me say, I've been blessed to be part of a Facebook group that has classes and trainings, and we've done. Uh, she, Linda has brought in USDA representatives that from Louisiana, from Washington D.C., and so the NRCS and the was it the Farm FSA, and we've had folks come in from urban ag and stuff, and so they tell you about all these things that are available to you, especially for those historically marginalized people, for women, for veterans. I fall in all three of those categories. And I have not been able to get a straight conversation as to what is available for me. I've got my 100% disabled as a veterans. My student loans were dismissed. I am trying to find out what is available. Instead, they want you to write up a business plan and put all this stuff in there and then bring it so they can chop it down. That makes no sense. Who goes shopping and don't know how much money in their purse?
Exactly.
That's backwards. I'm not going to do all the time because it takes a lot of time to put together a business plan. I'm doing research and this stuff, and then I go in and you tell me, well, you can't do this, you don't qualify for that. I need to know up front. Look at, they say that they don't go by your credit history, but yet they do go by your credit history. So I need to know how you going by the credit history. Then they want you to have 3 years of experience. Then they don't break down how that 3 years goes. But if you're a new farmer, how are you going to have those 3 years of experience? So you're not going to qualify. But I got experience. I've got a professor at Nairobi College who was my professor at Maharishi, who I know will be an advisor to me. He's put it on paper before, and I will have him put it on paper again. I've got other people that are willing to be advisors. I've got people who have farms, Southwest Black ranchers, Stu and Rachel, are got the only Black protein farm in the state of Arizona. And baby, when I got a chance to go over there with them and their kids, they got 4 kids. And from the littlest one to the biggest one can tell you every different kind of pig they got, what the history is, how they do this, don't do that. I'm so impressed with what Stu and Rachel have done. So I've got people and I've got experience, but I don't have the kind of experience that they're looking for because they're still going by historical, traditional ways of doing. Yes. When I mentioned that I want to do regenerative farming, and there's lots of folks doing, and most of the farms that I've been to and visit are white. When I mentioned that I want to do farming in containers, they've got the because I have a CDL Class A, so they've got the 18-wheel, the 53-foot trailer where they've installed the whole farm in there. That is not something that has been open to talking to me about. So I've had to talk to USDA people from Louisiana to Washington to get some better answers. And I'm still not clear on what I'm clear as to what possibilities, the big realm of, you can get the micro loan and it's 50,000 or less, or you can get this loan and then it has, okay, that is the overview. That sounds great when you come to a class and they tell it to you, or you in a workshop. I also took Arms to Farm training, which was fantastic. Got a chance to visit some great farms in the Albuquerque area of New Mexico. But when it comes down to individually helping you understand what is possible for what I'm trying to do, I'm not getting that.
Okay.
And I,
The reason why part of the problem is no one has explained to you as far as grant, as far as individual grants for an individual farmer is almost non-existent. I know of two resources as far as for an individual farmer, even as a veteran farmer. There are two places I always go to. There's State Department of Agriculture, like Mexico Department of Agriculture. Here in Oklahoma City, State Department of Agriculture has grants for individual farmers. Also, another subsidiary or entity of the USDA is SARE.
Yes, I'm
They give individual grants to farmers. Okay, so that's an important. As I explained to you, we can talk about, I don't want to make this about national women, although it is about, we are trying to warn women, whoever, under grants. Like for instance, we filed a grant for veteran women in ag, our chapter for our veteran women to get resources from that grant to do projects on their farm. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's the reason why I was interested in talking to you.
Could actually get the same grant. The way we're structured here in headquarters, we file corporation papers, do the EIN, the DUNS number, all these things that are necessary to go for a grant. You automatically adopt our history and our capacity. We are now 63 chapters strong across the United States in 13 homes. You can't do it. And I will be very with you. It's even harder when you put your coverage in almost 15 years. And they still as far as what we have across the United States. That's another story. We have stakeholders that are standing. These are asking, are you questioning these people such a hard time? And they've done all across the United States. So there's an opportunity there for you. Again, that's an opportunity for you to have your own to go for big grant. But no one ever. They only fund big grants go to nonprofits and colleges.
Right.
And if anyone tells you the difference, they're lying. Because it's not designed, and you're doing community work, and you've been in the community area for a very, very long time. So it's very important that you know, so people don't keep playing games with you. But I'm going to rest there, and I brought you help to the table to help you directly from USDA FSA New Mexico. So without further ado, I introduce and bring in Mr. Lopez. Mr. Lopez, how are you?
Thank you so much. And I want to applaud the great work that you do, Dr. Gray Steele, with your organization. I think it's badly needed, and it's so exciting to see what you're doing with it and how you're growing. I want to say good morning. It's still morning out here in New Mexico, but I want to say good morning to Mrs. Tillman, who I've had the privilege of working with on many issues that have come up and stuff, and it's always a joy. I am the National Beginning Farmer Coordinator. I was a farm loan officer in New Mexico. I live in New Mexico currently. I ranch in New Mexico. I am a Desert Storm veteran.
All right.
And I raise Black Angus cattle out here in New Mexico. So I come across with many experiences in working together and stuff. And Mrs. Tillman, I do want to announce that I got on the horn and I diligently checked to find out what your status is for loan prospects and stuff like that. And I do want to say that the message I got while we were on this radio film in here. So this is fresh off the press for you. That I'm going to give you the thumbs up. They say that you should be good to go, and to get that application in. And I think it's great news. I don't want to go into detail because I don't like to discuss people's business, but I do want to say that you did get 2 thumbs up on it. So I'm excited for that to happen. And I'm excited to give you that news.
Exactly what does that 2 thumbs up mean? Which grant, I mean, which loan?
Do I have your permission to talk about what? Okay, that's all I want because I respect your privacy tremendously, Mrs. Tillman. But you had, and you mentioned it in your discussion earlier about your veteran loan forgiveness, and that was a key question on federal debt, and we had to get ruling from the Office of General Counsel in Washington, D.C. And of course, working at that level, things could tend to be very consuming and whatnot. But Leanne Gibbs, the farm loan chief for the state of New Mexico, inquired this morning. And while I was on, we were just beginning the program. She had got word back that they don't see any reason to hold back on your application. So I would highly recommend that you get that application in. You know, I do know that Leanne Gibbs had mentioned to you that she'll personally work with you on that, and that is service that we just can't afford everybody. But we do know one thing, Mrs. Tillman, I do want to say is that I just adore your passion.
Yes.
Your passion to help, because that's what makes a difference in life. I always say that, you know, if I'm going to work with somebody, they could be the smartest person, or they could be the most diligent person, but if they don't have passion,
That's right.
it's not going to happen.
That's right there, passion.
Yes, and I know the passion that you both carry to help. And as a beginning farmer regional coordinator, I'm so excited to be able to work with good folks like you, because I have passion. That's the one thing that they always tell me is Rick, with your passion when I give speeches and presentations across this country. And one thing that I do want to mention that wasn't stated correctly, and I just want to clarify, we don't look at credit score. We look at credit worthiness. And so the score in itself, that loan officer doesn't even get it. What we want to see, what we look at when we say credit worthiness, we have to look at whether you're current on your bills, or if you have any federal debt that has been discharged or whatnot. If you're current on all your payments and current on all your bills, if you're having a hard time justifying your experience, just what I heard Mrs. Tillman here today, you have a tremendous amount of experience. And I'm excited for you to get that loan in there. One of the things that, as I was many years ago, you could tell with my gray hair, it was many years ago, but when I was a young loan officer, I remember my farm loan manager who was training me, he says, Rick, we got to be careful that we can hurt somebody greatly if we don't make that loan, if we don't understand. But we can equally hurt them as well if we make a loan when there's no possible way of repayment ability. And that's the most difficult choice for a loan officer many times to evaluate. And I know as a loan officer, I just loved making loans. I used to go up to the Indian reservations all over New Mexico, and I spent more time up there on Navajo land. I knew the president up there, the vice president, very, very well. I made a ton of loans for good people, good, hardworking people, you know, and working with them. And I would say that a loan officer has to sometimes get creative. They have to get creative. Let's start a conversation. Let's start a relationship with that producer with that applicant. So I can get the whole picture. Being a veteran, I handle all the veteran issues under the USDA that come in.
Yes, right here.
And one of the things that I want to hear their story. I want to know what they've done, because I'm working with a black farmer in Florida right now who's trying to purchase some land. And the first time he put that application, he was denied because of experience. So he found me on the website. He called me, and so just through our conversation, I said, "You have that experience. You have more than, you got 5 years of experience."
Exactly.
He didn't know how to verbalize that. He didn't know how to put that down on that application. His experience. He was raising chickens, but he had over 500 chickens he was raising, and he was selling the eggs. He was marketing his farm. And we were able to develop that experience, have him reapply, and he's going through that process right now for loan approval. And that's exciting. And that's a big part of my job that I like to do. I like to sit down and I like to talk to folks. You had mentioned the young lady in Arizona. I had the opportunity to work with her, Rachel, also as well. But man, there's some other underlying issues there that may not be aware to the public, and don't need to be aware to the public, because that's her business. And so what I want to say is that many times we have tremendous people at the Farm Service Agency. These people are working in these county offices in Timbuktu, and as you know, New Mexico is extremely rural. So they're working out very, very remote locations, and they're good, hard-working, honest folks. What I want to try to do is eliminate any kind of hindrances,
yes,
or any type of misinterpretations, so we can make that loan, so that we can get our new and beginning farmers off on the right track. And age means nothing to me, because if you have the passion and you have the desire to do something, we want to be able to work with you to have you achieve those goals. Now, it is a bumpy road. When I was a loan officer, you get that loan packet, especially for a land purchase, and that thing looks like it's the second coming of the Bible. It's so thin. And I tell, when I mail out these applications, I say, fill out as much as you can, put on a pot of coffee, and I'm going to go sit down on your kitchen table, and we're going to fill it out together.
I love that.
And I tell them, don't throw it away. When you see it, don't get intimidated and throw away, because it's a typical government form. And a lot of people don't understand, being that we're in the money lending business. First, number one, we can't compete with banks. There's certain rules and guidelines that through Congress and through the farm bills that we are limited in. And where the NRCS can do certain things, we can't, because we're in the money lending business. And also, secondly, one of the things that I think we really need to be aware of is that our rules and regulations aren't administered by the president. They're not administered by the Secretary of Ag. They are actually contained and written by Congress into our farm bills. So if we need to change, and I'm not saying we don't need, I'm not saying that this is a perfect institution or a perfect program, our lending program, but we need to get Congress's ear, and you need to find out who is heading or running the farm bill, the ag committees in Congress, and get their ear and mention either it's too cumbersome or some of the things, the years of experience. I get this every day from beginning farmers and ranchers. How do I get experience, especially the young ones? I have no experience. Well, just as in life, in anything, you want to do something, you prepare yourself. If you want to be a welder and work for the railroad, you learn how to weld. You pay your dues, and you get that experience. I remember speaking one time at a Young Farmers Coalition conference. I used to be their keynote speaker for many years. And one of the kids stood up and said, well, how do I get this experience? I said, go work on a farm. Get your hands dirty. You can't read everything on the internet and say you're an expert. You got to get in there and you got to dig in. And that's what Mrs. Tillman has done. if you look, listening to her history, and she's told me her story, what she has done is she has gotten in there and
Yes,
she worked diligently to make a difference. And that experience counts.
that's
So,
exactly,
uh,
Mr. Lopez. What we want to bring to the forefront is women like her that are out there, and the opportunity and roadblocks that may have been there are now being, the barriers are being removed. Because again, National Women in Agriculture, we stand with her. Again, as you can see, we are connecting with people through this platform. It's not your traditional workshop. It's another form of outreach. Yes, it is, as a result of a cooperative agreement that we have with FSA. But we want to make sure that we give our farmers, specifically women and veterans, a platform and the actual backing that they need. If I heard her, it's several people that she knows that's just like her. There have been doors closed in her face. There have been a lot of gaslighting, a lot of events. But to get to the root and work on hands-on training, again, also all of you that are out there listening, you heard it from Mr. Lopez himself. They will help you fill out the loan application. It's not in a problem. I know for sure that I have a relationship with the actual director of National Women of NRCF, Farm Service Agency, Zach Duccio. I personally have him. He and I text each other. We are in this together as a partner, as a cooperative partner. So if you all are out there and there are issues with getting as simple as a farm number, because that's the first start. That's something that if you have property or you lease property, I was just on with the California representative. That's a lease agreement thing. It's not that big of a deal. So the roadblocks, those barriers are easily removed, or we find a way. Ms. Tillman, I want to switch back to give you a few more minutes to say, what do you think about what we have brought to the forefront? How else can we help you? Again, we want to drill down to also, lastly, invite you all to the first American Veteran Women in Ag Conference ever in America. We're doing that July 6th and 7th here in Oklahoma City, which is the headquarters to National Women in Agriculture. We are sponsoring veteran women farmers. We have sponsorship for them to stay at a hotel. We will take care of the hotel. We've had problems receiving some resources in order to sponsor more, because we want to do more for our veteran women as well as veteran men. We are not just limiting, this space or this event for veterans. It's all genders, all races, as well as everyday farmers, as well as actual farm operations or agencies or companies. We want you to come in to speak to these veteran women one-on-one, and veteran men. I always have to say that. Get involved with them, help them out. Since you say you really, how do they like? We always say thank you for your service. That's the political thing to say. We say that to you all, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because I know serving is hard, and we want to show it though. Our organization is about intentional, and we're trying to be intentional to bring these women to the forefront for what they've done. They're the sheroes. So it's all yours, Mrs. Tillman.
ma'am,
I'm so thank you very much for making this possible. I didn't realize that Mr. Lopez would be on here, and I do appreciate you making the connection. I would like to say that it shouldn't take all this for me to get to this level, because like you said, we had personal conversations. That's been at least a month ago. I talked to Lee Ann 3 months ago, and she said she would get back with me. I've given the information and stuff to y'all months ago, and I'm getting to this. As a woman veteran, I have to say that there are things that are said in conversation, and as a Black woman, that there needs to be training on and mindful. I strongly suggest the undoing racism training for USDA. Okay, because when you tell me that you're going to get back with me, I expect that to happen, because I'm doing all the stuff down here. I don't have any money in the bank, and I get finally my 100%, because all of it is I got IBC totes, I got PCV pipes, I got pumps. I'm steady working. I'm steady pulling stuff and buying fence and different stuff. I'm doing my end. I'm doing my end. So I'm expecting somebody to get back with me. Nobody gets back with me. Also, when you tell me that you're going to make me your personal, work with me personally, and then you said in conversation that, if there's pushback, if, other people call you or something, that very much registers, especially with a woman vet who has MST. I don't know if you know what that is, but that is military sexual trauma. So when you say something like that, that sounds very much like, if you don't do what I say do, if you tell somebody, then I personally won't work with you. I'm not looking to be anybody's personal pet. I'm looking for you to do your job and do it to the level that it should be done, because I have served my country. And if I hadn't served my country, it says underserved population, which is Black people. So we should be able to get that. And you talked to me and told me you understood that. But then when I talked up the chain to try to get some help, then I get crickets, which means silence. That's, to me, is wrong. I don't know if that's how y'all operate, but I am not going to be on here and not speak my truth. I'm going to speak my truth because other women and veterans are in this situation. And right now we're at a food crisis. We're at a fertilizer crisis. We're at humans being addicted on the street, mental health crisis. I don't have time to tiptoe around realities. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I want you to take this back to USDA and whoever else, because there needs to be changes. We all have to change. I'm changing. People all over have to change.
Most definitely.
So I'm more than willing to work together. But as I told you before, and you told me about the history of your ancestors who have been running cattle since the 18 something up to now, mine was slaves. Mine were field workers. Okay. So that comparison right there should be more reason that opportunities should be opened up to me, because you were able, somebody in your family was able to have land, run cattle, have beef to eat and stuff. We're just now getting to the point where the USDA is saying that they're making opportunities. So the last thing we need is the USDA representatives making it more challenging, because we got enough people in the neighborhood right over, not far from me. I got the Cowboys for Trump. I ain't had no problem with it because I'm a praying somebody. But I do know, I'm aware that wherever I live in the country, I could be in danger. My son, oh yeah, he could be in danger. Okay, so I want to thank you for coming forth and letting me know that to go ahead. But I still need to know which loan, exactly how much I can go for, what I can't go for, because there's no sense in writing a business plan for $500,000 to find out you can only do 2,000. So I hope Leanne or somebody will personally call me, because y'all have my number and everything. And I'm working on the rest of the paperwork. I'm trying to get Sam's number. Now they got me on an incident report since 2 months ago. A month ago. And I'm calling him steadily.
I just want to. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say.
Miss Tillman. There we go.
Okay. All I want to say, ma'am, is that I have always taken your case very, very seriously, and I don't make any excuses for what happened in the past. I know it's deep, and I know that being a Hispanic, that I have also suffered my family in many, many ways. And your case has always been in the forefront to me. But when we have to send for guidance to the OGC, Office of General Counsel, then we are hindered, or we're stopped at that point. And I do want to say that we cannot do pre-approval loans like banks can, or rural development on a home property. They can pre-approve you for a certain amount, so you know where you qualify from. we can't do that. We're just not allowed. That's part of something that we're not allowed to do. So please understand that we can't come and tell you. We can't even begin the process unless you have a contract to purchase a piece of land. Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's the way. I'm just saying, basically, I'm just being straight up, veteran to veteran, saying, ma'am, this is the way it is. We can't process an application unless you have a contract for purchasing a piece of land for that amount of dollars. And at that point, we'll be glad to get you an application and to help you get that application through the loop. I understand it's frustrating because, believe me, I hear this all across the country, but I hear it from white folks. I hear it from all people of color. And it's just something in the process, again, that's in the farm bills throughout the history that and maybe it's time to be changed. And I applaud you for wanting to bring this change. I applaud you for that. Because if enough people voice that, and Dr. Tammy Gray Steele provides a platform for that to get out, and this farm conference that you're offering in Kansas, let us know. My counterpart, Amanda Robinson, she has the same position I do. We cover the U.S. as beginning farmer ranching coordinators, and she specifically is this. I'm a signed veteran. She is working with women in ag as well. So if you want to invite us to that, maybe we come out and help
Please
you all.
do. We
Yes.
definitely will. I'm trying to get her here. Currently, I'm working to try to get Ms. Tillman here because we do want her to be on that platform for the Farm Bill. We do work directly with a certain party of leadership on the Hill, when I say Hill, Washington, D.C., that's paying very careful attention to what, as women and women of color specifically, has actually did the turnaround for the people. I know that it comes to a shock for many because, as you know, whatever's good, there is some bad and some tightening up on our behalf as well. But if we had the resources, we could hire people in to work directly, even more so, with the veterans and get them to you all and work with you all directly. But that's another story for a different conversation. We have reached to the end of our show. I have to jump on with California leadership. I appreciate you both from the bottom of my heart. Ms. Tillman, you know I'm a phone call away. We're now on text basis also. And again, I'm still working to get you here. I spoke with the Women Buffalo Soldiers. We're trying to figure out a way to get you here because July 6th and 7th is important that you're at the table. When I say that, because there are legislators that, you know, if they're not on here now looking at this, they are going to be a part of the Veteran Women in Ag Conference ever been held for women, farmers, veterans.
Senator Cory Booker is on the Ag Committee.
Yes, sir.
He would be, I think, a great resource to bring your all's message directly to him because he's very vocal.
But you're going to have to do that and speak to him for us because me as a Black woman, and I will say it very publicly, I have tried, and my office have tried to reach out. I think I may look a little different if I had blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm a very frank person also. But if you called also as a male, that may help. He may want to talk to us and be a part of our conference. So if you can help us in that way, Mr. Lopez, we are appreciative. We are appreciative to FSA for giving us the actual cooperative agreement to add this piece of outreach that we knew would work. We've been doing it every week since October. And as you said yourself, people from Florida reach out to you because they just don't get along or something's not right in their FSA area state. And that's the reason we provided this platform because people live in these states and in these counties and they don't want the conflict. And it's just a lot of unnecessary for a lot of people. The reason we wanted this platform that we reach many, many more people to help. So without further ado, again, I'm going to close. I'm going to actually put up the information, have my assistant put up FSA information there in New Mexico so people could contact you. I'm so sorry, but I have to do that, Mr. Lopez, because of your leadership. We need people like you at the table to help us
Thank
women,
you. Thank you.
especially women of color. It's just not a pretty walk. And luckily, it's a new day. As Mrs. Tillman said, Mama Tillman said, it's something new. We got to make it new and be intentional. We're going to put this on real quick. And with all of you out there listening and that has tuned in, we're here every Wednesday. We have another dynamic veteran that woman that is coming forward with us next week from the state of Pennsylvania. We'll also have an FSA representative with her, and she's also a part of Farm Bureau. So we're going to, like I said, we're getting geared up. I had to shift the whole schedule. We had men at the end of this month schedule because we do our calendar and our presentation for different farmers a month in advance. But I said, no, let's shift gears. Let's let the people hear from the veteran women themselves leading up to the veteran conference. Again, intentionally, you all, there's Mr. Lopez's information right there on the screen. You can contact him directly. And as I always say when ending, it's a great day in ag to make that bag. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you for being on our platform. Keep praying, keep doing what you're doing because we need it and we all appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.